Hello, everyone, and welcome to General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. Today on General Hospital, a chat with Liz has Dante seeing her in a new way. Molly and Cody reconnect over her book, and Lucas tries to warn Ava about Jens. Gio is hanging out at Emma and Anna's place, shirtless with Fizz, who he's babysitting. He's planning to fly out to California tomorrow, only for Emma to walk through the door. Gio holds Emma, who appears broken. They eventually sit on the couch, and she says she had to tell her whole family about her grandma, and her mom took it really hard. Emma says she and her mom went to France, but they weren't even allowed to see Anna, as it could agitate her and set back her progress. The trip made Emma realize how much her mom needed her, and she's been pondering moving back to Berkeley. Gio tells her he'd understand and would relocate to be with her, which touches her. However, her mom insisted she return to Port Charles, and what she wants more than anything is to be with him. Gio kisses her hand and tells her that he was actually going to fly out tomorrow to see her. He tells her that he loves her, and she cries, "I'm desperately in love with you." Molly meets Cody at the Brown Dog for his invite. He returns her manuscript, which Christina gave him to read. He tells her that he loved it and couldn't put it down, and she's so talented. He also knows she wasn't going to publish it to spare his feelings, which he feels would be a shame, and that people deserve to read this book. As they dive into the details of her book, Molly is impressed by Cody's deep interpretation of some of the symbolism and by his attention to so many little details. She also learns he's been reading Pride and Prejudice for a book club he joined. In Carly's attic, she tells Valentine that they have a complication. Lucas knows more than he should about what Sidwell is up to, and Marco knows everything Lucas knows. Now, Lucas wants her nowhere near Sidwell or Windmere, and her brother is in danger. Carly says Marco told Lucas that when a specific project is completed, he can walk away from his father's business. She knows Lucas is holding something back, not telling her everything, but Valentine says it doesn't matter. Their plan remains, and Lucas is on his own. At the hospital, Dante grabs Liz to talk. The new commish is hoping to find answers as to Michael and Willow's interactions when she was staying with her fellow nurse, but she really doesn't have much she can tell him. Dante explains that the fact that they haven't proved who shot Drew is causing problems at the Quartermaines, and he's worried Chase is about to tank his entire career. Liz doesn't want to believe either Michael or Willow could be capable of murder, and says that Dante may need to accept they may never know the truth. Dante gets that she's right, and it's hard to face that fact. Liz says you can't fix everything. You just have to do your best and hope it's good enough. Ava drops by to see Lucas, as he called her, and he warns her to stay away from Sidwell before she gets in any deeper. Ava thinks Carly finally got to him. He explains that Carly made some valid points and was right not to trust Sidwell. Lucas begs Ava to just drop this thing with Sidwell, as he loves her and doesn't want her to get hurt. She says if there is something she needs to know, then he should tell her. He says there is nothing she needs to know, other than if it weren't for Marco, he wouldn't be spending time at Windmere at all. Ava tells Lucas she likes Jens and assures him that she's dealt with her fair share of dangerous men. She believes the risk is worth the reward. At the QS mansion, Brooklyn tells Chase she won't bring a child into this home when his focus is not where it should be, but on proving that Michael shot Drew and framed Willow. Chase argues he's fighting for justice, and because of Michael's last names, Quartermaine, Corinthos, he won't be held accountable for what he did. Brooklyn again reiterates, "What you say he did." Chase can't call himself a cop if he stands by and watches such an injustice happen. Brooklyn notes that lately, he's sounding less like a cop and more like a vigilante seeking vengeance. Chase says Michael was downright cruel in keeping Willow from her kids. Brooklyn calls it an example of what happens when you lose perspective, and she doesn't want that to happen to them. Britt meets Jason at the harbor master's cabin, and the hitman warns her that Cullum is onto them. He informs her about the meeting he just had with the WSB agent. Britt then tells him that Cullum came to see her, and he and Sidwell want her to get them a working prototype on their project, and if she doesn't deliver, she's a dead woman. Britt believes she can make the prototype, which in a normal world would mean an endless source of clean energy. However, in Cullum and Sidwell's hands, it's a dangerous weapon. She also tells him that Lucas knows what is going on and wants to help them get her meds. At the QS, Chase tells Brooklyn the most important thing is raising a family and showering their children with love and support. So that's where his focus will be from now on. He gives her his word. Nothing will stop them from adopting, least of all him. Why don't I believe him? At the hospital, Dante thanks Liz for the advice and tells her he owes her and will pay her back. Liz gets paged and tells him, "Don't be ridiculous. Let it go." Dante mumbles, "I'm not sure that I want to. Rick and his nephew are interested in the same woman. This will get messy." Ava tells Lucas not to let Carly come between him and Marco. She sees that he's happy and alive again, so don't lose that man. He asks her to promise to be careful with Sidwell. She again says she knows how to handle a man like Jens. In the attic, Valentine tells Carly that the only way to help Joss is to bring Brennan and Sidwell down. If Carly chooses to tell Lucas what they are doing, give him a heads up so he can run for it. She says she's trusted him so far. She sees no reason to stop, so they stick to the plan. She wants to save both Joss and Lucas. On the island, Jason tells Britt that if Lucas can't get the meds, they'll have to figure something out. They are in this together, and he won't leave her again. They embrace. At the bar, Cody tells Molly that when she publishes, the book club will be reading her novel. He decides to get going, and they part. However, Molly runs after him and pulls him into a kiss. Finally, Gio and Emma make haste to the bedroom at her and Anna's place and make love. The day at Port Charles opens quietly, deceptively so, with Gio lounging at Emma and Anna's place. The afternoon sun spills through the windows as he casually tends to fizz, shirtless and relaxed, the kind of casual moment that feels almost too peaceful in a world where danger lurks just around the corner. Tomorrow, he plans to fly out to California, leaving behind the chaos and uncertainty of the city. But the tranquility is shattered when the front door swings open. Emma steps in, and the weight of the world is written all over her. Gio immediately notices it. Her shoulders slump, her face pale, her eyes heavy with grief. Without thinking, he wraps her in a protective embrace. She leans into him, broken and exhausted, letting the tears she's been holding back fall freely. The two eventually find themselves sitting on the couch, the silence between them thick but strangely comforting. She begins to speak, her voice trembling. "I had to tell my whole family about Grandma, and Mom, she took it really hard." Her hands shake as she recounts their trip to France, where even the simplest desire, to see Anna, was denied. They said it could agitate her, set back her progress. She whispers, a mixture of guilt and frustration in her tone. The trip, Emma explains, made her realize just how much her mother needed her. She confesses to Gio that she's been thinking about moving back to Berkeley, wanting to be there for her family in a way she hadn't before. Gio listens, every word striking deep. When he tells her he'd understand, that he'd relocate to be with her, her chest tightens. This is love, the kind that touches the soul. Her mother insists she return to Port Charles, and Emma admits, with a catch in her voice, that what she wants more than anything is to be with him. Gio reaches out, tenderly kissing her hand, and then confesses, almost breathlessly, that he was planning to fly out tomorrow just to see her. "I love you," he says simply, truth cutting through the room like sunlight through storm clouds. And in that moment, the dam breaks. Tears streak down Emma's cheeks as she whispers, "I'm desperately in love with you." It's a moment suspended in time, charged with longing, love, and the sense that no distance or obstacle could ever dim the fire between them. Across town, a quieter yet equally poignant reunion is happening at the Brown Dog, where Molly meets Cody at his invitation. The air is filled with the comforting aroma of coffee, but also with anticipation. Cody hands her back her manuscript, the one Christina had entrusted him to read. His eyes light up as he praises her work. "I loved it," he says. "I couldn't put it down. You're so talented." Molly's heart swells. Cody sees something in her that she's been hiding, the brilliance of her words, and the courage it takes to share them. He knows she held back the manuscript for his sake, and he insists that it would be a crime not to let the world experience it. As they talk, diving into the layers of symbolism, the subtle details, and the emotional undercurrents of her story, Molly realizes how deeply Cody has engaged. He even mentions Pride and Prejudice, a book he's reading for a club, showing a side of him that's thoughtful, patient, and endlessly attentive. And in that moment, between laughter and quiet admiration, a spark rekindles, hinting at the promise of something more. Meanwhile, tension simmers elsewhere. In Carly's attic, the air is thick with strategy and secrecy. She confides in Valentine about a complication, the kind that can topple plans and lives alike. Lucas knows more than he should about Sidwell's schemes, and Marco knows everything Lucas knows. Lucas has now taken a protective stance, warning Carly to stay far away from Sidwell and Windermere, but the threat to her brother is real. Carly listens, aware that Lucas is holding back, not telling her everything. But Valentine reassures her that it doesn't matter. The plan remains in motion. Lucas may be on his own, but they are committed to saving Joss, no matter the cost. Back at General Hospital, Dante finds himself drawn to Liz, needing guidance amid the swirling chaos of unanswered questions. He speaks cautiously, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. The recent interactions between Michael and Willow have left more questions than answers, and the mystery of who shot Drew continues to gnaw at the Quartermaines. Liz listens, empathetic, her steady presence a balm to his anxious thoughts. "You can't fix everything," she tells him gently. "You just do your best and hope it's good enough." Dante nods, the truth of her words sinking in. Some things may never be solved, and that realization, though painful, is part of the job and part of life. The tension escalates when Ava drops by Lucas's place, following his call. Lucas, protective and urgent, warns her to stay away from Sidwell before she gets in too deep. Ava smirks, thinking Carly might finally have reached him. Lucas admits Carly has a point and that trust must be cautious, but his concern for her is real. "I love you, Ava. I don't want you hurt," he says, the vulnerability in his voice cutting through the usual bravado. Ava, confident and fearless, assures him that she's no stranger to danger. "The risk is worth it," she says firmly, and Lucas can only hope that his warning is enough to keep her safe. Meanwhile, at the Quartermaine mansion, Brooke Lynn confronts Chase with raw honesty. She refuses to bring a child into a home where his focus has shifted dangerously, obsessed with proving Michael's guilt. Chase argues, passionately, that he's fighting for justice, that Michael's name and legacy cannot shield him from accountability. But Brooke Lynn sees the transformation in him. He's no longer a cop upholding the law. He's a man teetering on the edge of vengeance. "You're sounding less like a cop and more like a vigilante," she warns, the fear in her voice mixing with the love she still feels for him. Chase is silent for a moment, realizing how far he's strayed, how much perspective he's lost. Not far away, Britt meets Jason at the harbor master's cabin, tension radiating between them. The threat is immediate. Cullum is closing in, and the WSB agent's warnings echo ominously. Britt explains the stakes. Sidwell and Cullum want a working prototype, something that could be a revolutionary energy source or a devastating weapon, depending on whose hands it falls into. Failure isn't an option. Jason listens intently, his resolve hardening. They are in this together, no matter what comes. And in a rare, quiet moment, the fear, the danger, and the adrenaline give way to a shared trust and a promise. They will not abandon each other. Back at the Brown dock, Cody and Molly share a fleeting, electric connection before parting ways. Cody mentions the book club, a subtle nod to the world waiting to embrace her talent. As he turns to leave, Molly cannot help herself. She runs after him, and the two collide in a kiss that is soft, urgent, and full of the promise of what's to come. Meanwhile, Gio and Emma, consumed by the intensity of their reunion, retreat to the sanctuary of her bedroom. There, in the quiet intimacy of their shared space, they give themselves over to love, passionate, tender, and entirely unrestrained. The moment is both a culmination and a beginning, a declaration of a bond that no distance, no danger, and no grief can sever. The afternoon sun fades into a dim, golden glow at the Quartermaine mansion, casting long shadows across the walls as Chase and Brooke Lynn continue their heart-to-heart. Brooke Lynn's words hang heavy in the air. Raising a family requires focus, stability, and love, not obsession. She fears Chase's relentless pursuit of Michael's guilt is pulling him away from the life they could build together. Chase takes a deep breath, his jaw tightening as he absorbs her honesty. The fire in his eyes softens as he looks at her, realizing how much he's let his personal vendetta overshadow the life he wants to create. "You're right," he admits, his voice low but firm. The most important thing is our family. Nothing will stop us from adopting. I give you my word. Brooke Lynn studies him, the tension lingering, wondering if his promise will hold, or if the shadow of vengeance will creep back into his heart. But for now, she allows herself a fragile hope, the first real sense of peace in a long time. At General Hospital, Dante watches Liz walk away after their conversation, the weight of her wisdom settling in. He feels grateful, almost overwhelmed by her calm pragmatism. "I owe you one," he mutters, his voice barely audible, but Liz waves him off. "Don't be ridiculous. Let it go." Dante hesitates, unsure if he wants to let it go, his mind swirling with complications that only seem to multiply. He watches her disappear down the corridor, and for a moment, he wonders if clarity and closure are ever truly possible in a place like Port Charles. Meanwhile, Ava continues to assert herself in her own brand of fearless logic. At Lucas's apartment, she leans against the counter, arms crossed, confident and unwavering. "Don't let Carly come between you and Marco," she advises, her tone firm but caring. "You're happy, alive again. Don't lose that." Lucas's eyes narrow, reflecting both frustration and relief. He knows Ava means well, but the danger surrounding Sidwell gnaws at him. "Just promise me you'll be careful," he pleads, urgency threading through his voice. Ava smirks, a glimmer of defiance in her eyes. "I know how to handle a man like Jens," she says, leaving him with a mix of admiration and lingering worry. On the island, tension is palpable. Jason and Britt stand together, facing the enormity of what's at stake. "If Lucas can't get the meds, we'll have to figure something else out," Jason says, voice low and steady, full of unspoken reassurance. Britt nods, her determination unshakable. The danger feels immediate, almost suffocating, but the bond between them is a lifeline. When they embrace, it's a quiet promise. No matter what comes, they will not abandon each other. Back in Port Charles, Cody and Molly part ways at the cafe, the echoes of their kiss still lingering in the air. Cody mentions the book club reading her novel, a small but meaningful gesture acknowledging her talent and the world waiting to celebrate it. As he turns to leave, Molly calls out, running after him. Their lips meet again in a kiss that feels urgent, full of possibility, and undeniably theirs. The streets of Port Charles fade into the background, leaving only the intensity of their connection. Meanwhile, Gio and Emma have retreated to the sanctuary of her bedroom. The room is bathed in the warm, dim glow of a bedside lamp, shadows dancing across the walls as they lose themselves in one another. Every touch, every whispered word, every shared breath carries the weight of longing, relief, and a love that has survived distance, grief, and fear. It's a moment suspended in time, a declaration, a surrender, a new beginning. Outside, the world continues its chaos, but in that room, for that moment, there is only them. Back in Carly's attic, strategy and danger converge. Valentine outlines the stakes. The only way to save Joss is to bring down both Brennan and Sidwell. Carly, steeling herself, considers her loyalty, weighing trust against the need to protect the people she loves. She decides to stick to the plan, trusting Lucas to make the right choices. But she prepares to give him a warning if necessary. It's a delicate dance of secrecy, trust, and survival. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Dante reflects on Liz's words. Some truths may never come to light. He carries that weight quietly, the responsibility of uncovering answers tempered by the realization that not all mysteries can, or should, be solved. The stakes rise again at the harbor master's cabin, where Britt and Jason solidify their resolve. The prototype, a potential revolution in energy or a devastating weapon, lies between them and danger. Cullum and Sidwell loom like shadows, ever watchful. But in this moment, Jason's words are a shield, a promise that they face whatever comes together. There's no turning back. At the Quartermain mansion, Chase and Brooke Lynn share a quiet, tender moment, the weight of their conversation settling into a fragile peace. They hold on to the promise of a future, one where love and family triumph over obsession and vengeance. And as the night deepens, Port Charles seems to exhale, if only for a moment. Lovers reunite, friendships are tested, and families confront impossible choices. Secrets and dangers linger like shadows in the corners, reminding everyone that happiness here is fleeting, precious, and always hard-won. By the end of the day, hearts have been laid bare. Love has been declared, promises have been made, and choices, sometimes impossible, must be faced. For Gio and Emma, Cody and Molly, Lucas and Ava, Britt and Jason, and even Chase and Brooklyn, the night is a quiet reckoning, a moment to breathe before the storm inevitably returns.